And then the next song number 8, is 2 in the Morning.
These we definitely did place next to each other on purpose.
Yeah. 2 in the Morning. Well, let's talk about the art first. I think it's by this artist Tato Caraveo in Phoenix. I think I was going to say one of my favorite, but he's my favorite artist in Phoenix. He's just an amazing painter.
He was one of the managers or co-owners of this place called the Lost Leaf in Phoenix, where we used to play. We would play 4 hours sets, or 4 45-minute sets with breaks, and that's where we kind of got our shit together as a band, learning to play our instruments. But anyway, it's this cool bar in downtown Phoenix, and this guy Tato we became friends with, and a lot of the art in the Lost Leaf was his at the time, and we were like, who the fuck is this artist? He's amazing. And it was him.
Yeah, he's got this really loose feel where every character has kind of got, it's a bit Fear and Loathing looking. Everything's kind of warped and a bit liquid,
It's also surrealistic influences in it, like what's his name? The guy that the time Spanish guy.
Dali. So, yeah,
Salvador Dali.
I don't think. Personally, I don't feel any of us are qualified to
talk about art.
To talk about art in that way, but just viscerally, the way he exaggerates the proportions and exaggerates certain facial characteristics to kind of to make an emotion or to make a state of mind kind of pop in the face, is what I really like about it.
I don't even know if it's that, because I've seen his stuff lately where he's not exaggerating proportions, and he did this one that was just these silhouetted guys walking through a sunset, and it contained emotion, and I can't put my finger on why it has emotion, and he's just got something that he puts into the painting.
I think he's a really good example of seeing someone that has actually mastered a lot of skills, of technique, of art, and then is able to still be completely free in what he decides he wants to paint later. Because you see a couple of his pencil drawings or just his realist stuff, and it's exceptionally good.
Yeah.
Well, I remember because I was dealing with him, with these pieces of art and trying to get them ready in time for the album release, and I started to get really nervous because on all 3 of the songs that he did the art for, he hadn't given us anything, like he hadn't given us any ideas, and I was like, hey Tato, anything we can see? And he's like, oh yeah, shit, sorry, okay, I'll get it to you next week. And this went on for weeks and weeks, and finally I was like, hey, so we kind of need to go to print really soon. And so I started to get worried, like we might need to start looking to other options. And then he goes, hey, what do you think about this? When I went and saw them, he showed these like basically completed paintings that captured the vibe and essence of these songs so perfectly. I was like, yep, okay, that's good, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, 2 in the Morning, I think maybe it depends on what mood I'm in, but in a certain mood, it's probably my favorite song on the album. And I remember when you played the demo to me, I kind of just knew immediately, okay, we should record this. It's great. And one of the few more sincere songs on the album, but I just think the comments we get on it sometimes are funny. I remember reading a comment on Twitter or YouTube or something that was like, fucking KONGOS going soft and selling out on us. It's like, literally, it's the least sellouty song of the album, but if you're insecure with your emotions, that's cool too.
This is the song where Jesse just walked around the studio with these goat bells.
No, that was Danny.
Oh, there's Danny who walked around with him. Anyway, our mom had been in Greece visiting some good friends of ours, and she bought these goat bells.
Her best friend gave them to her as a birthday gift.
Okay, yeah. So the bells that they have hanging around goats' necks in Greece, so you can hear them. And they sound really cool. So Danny just was walking around the studio recording goat bells, and that's where a lot of that sound comes from, the intro and the outro.
Yeah,
I think
you guys know where I am. Yeah.
I think we have a video of Danny literally just strolling around the studio wearing goat bells. The drum part on this is maybe my favorite drum part on the album, because it kind of brought me back to our experimental jazz days where you could record the drums in a certain way where I was playing quiet enough that you could get an entirely different sound. When you play quietly, they record very differently. So
they become much more pitched.
Yeah. And we used to, when we played in jazz groups and combos and stuff at ASU, the cool thing to do was to have like chains and rattles and bells and broken cymbals and all this stuff, you know, to get different textures out of the sound. And it was a lot of fun. And so I got to pull out some of those tricks where I was playing. I had chains wrapped around my hands. I had weird pieces of percussion and doodads all over the drum set that to give it this texture.
I mean, on the snare drum, you had a chain that was long enough to reach the snare drum before you hit the snare drum, which I kind of like because you can get pre hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you hear the sort of right up to the strike of the drum.
This kind of reminds me of the new Fred Armisen stand-up on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it. He's like, we've all played in one of these bands, right? Because he's doing stand-up just to drummers, an audience full of drummers, and then he proceeds to make fun of that era of jazz drummers that, you know, had like knitting needles and assorted kitchen gadgets on the drum set.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, for the epitome and the best version, I mean, he's amazing, is Jim Black.
Yeah.
That guy's, I mean, you can make fun of it, but he's undeniably fucking good.
I think what it is that Jim Black did it, and then everyone tried to copy him, and it was not the same thing.
Yeah.